It's one of my favorite annual traditions. God, one of these days I'm going to be back in Canada and enjoying the company of my friends who I miss dearly. But I'm so glad we can do this here and now because it's awesome that technology is such. And I have a wonderful group. You might recognize a few of these folks here, and that's awesome to see all of you again. And welcome. I just another year, 10 years. It's been when words collide. Nice going. That's awesome. And it's one of those things I circle on my calendar and look forward to every year. For sure. And we are here celebrating that and more. As you can see, I have some great group with me. I'm going to have them introduce themselves real quickly, and then we'll have some fun and just hang out and talk shop a little bit. So, Mr. Lavery, why don't you start with, we'll start with you, sir.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Con Lavery. I am a Edmonton, Canadian based author and graphic designer. That's kind of my wheelhouse, doing design. And then telling creepy stories, anything dark and evil. So that can be fantasy, thrillers, horror, sci-fi, all that fun stuff. And been a mix of indie publishing and small boutique publishers. So all over the map.
Welcome. It's always nice to see you, my friend. All right.
Yeah, likewise.
The two of you have done it every year that I've been doing this, so that's pretty awesome. And that's the other counterpart, Mark Watson. Tell everybody about yourself, sir.
I would love to. As you said, I am Mark Watson. I'm an author of genre fiction. I have, let's see, what am I at? I had 4 books. Now I'm back down to 3 books that are out right now. That's Death Dresses Poorly, Catching Hell Part 1 Journey, and my independent release, Between Conversations, Tales from the World of Ryujin. I have been traditionally published, I have been self-published, and I just completed my first audiobook. So kind of get my fingers in a lot of pie.
That's awesome. Getting some nice wind from Linda back there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindy Allison. I'm speaking to you tonight as a Canadian expat in Panama. I'm outside in my Bohio. And I am a debut young adult science fiction author. So my very first book came out this year, March 31st. It's called The Lines Between Our Stars. My second book came out June 30th, called The Bridges Between Us. And if things stay on track, the third book will be out in time for Christmas sales. It's called The Clashing of Our Worlds. And I'm fortunate to offer writing workshops and retreats in natural spaces in Panama and outside here in this cozy Bohio.
Awesome. Welcome. It's nice to have you. It's cool. I don't think you're the first person I've had from down that way, but certainly it's been a while, so it's cool. It's nice to have some perspective, some world perspective. That's the cool thing about doing this, But I'm gonna mute you, Lindy, because the wind is really strong back there for a second, so that we can hear each other speak a little bit. And whenever you want to talk, just unmute yourself, and you'll be able to join in. And please do. I hope you do join in. I don't care about the wind at that point, but anyway, hello, everybody. Like I said, this is the 10th anniversary of When Words Collide. I've broadcast now. This is the fourth or fifth one I've done live.
I think 4. Pretty sure 4.
4, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah. I think it's 4 too. Second one I've had to do remotely from my own house, which is sad to me because I love Calgary, going to Calgary and being a part of this event. This is such a great event. It's so cool, and I miss it tremendously. But hopefully we will get past all this nonsense and weirdness in our world and be able to do that next year. From the sounds of it, Alberta's on its way. So, I know that America's probably going to be a couple steps behind, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, well, we won't get into all that. But how's everybody doing? What's been going on? Lindy, you just said you were doing some writing. You're moving on to a third book. Mark, are you writing a book still currently? What's going on with you right now?
I sometimes. I think the answer is sometimes. I'm writing a book. I am working on the sequel to my Catching Hell duology, but it's taking a long time, and I'm also having a lot of fun working on this audiobook stuff because I want to release the audiobooks for my other releases. So I'm focusing a lot on that right now, just because it's so fun to lock
Are you
my closet and speak into this very up to.
Are you the one doing the narrating?
I am, yeah. I did the narration for my first book, Death Dresses Poorly, so that's available right now. And yeah, it's I totally just noticed that dropped down behind me.
That was
My
really
tape
funny.
has failed me. That's okay. I'm not using the green screen anymore. It's all right. This is pandemic still. We still haven't nailed it after 18 months. We're still living like this. But yeah, I am. I set up a little recording booth in my closet, and I do all the recording myself. Something that I know that Con knows a lot about.
Yeah. You both have the voice for it. It's pretty cool. I'm glad to hear that. That's cool. Plus, it's most of the book is, especially Death Dresses Poorly, is mostly in your voice anyway, for the most part. So right? So,
It is. Yeah, it would have felt weird. Like, I know that there's a lot of really good voice actors out there that probably could have given the characters the same oomph and chutzpah that I tried to give it, but they're very personal characters to me, and those voice actors that are really good at that, I can't afford them, so I chose to do it myself.
Nice. That's awesome. Right on. Lindy, you're working on a third book right now. Is that you were saying you have is this a trilogy, or are you couldn't continue after that? Oh, let me see if I can.
There we go. Yes, it is a trilogy, although I have niggling in the back of my mind a second trilogy, and I noticed in this third book I'm already dropping little things in that might lead the reader to be introduced to that. So yes, I've got two teens who go exoplanet hopping, and they're on the rescue. They're saving all kinds of aliens and sometimes attacks on Earth as well. But they've been unable so far to find their way home. So that's going to be the big question at the end of the third book. They use their ingenuity to save others, but can they find their way home?
And I know, Con, you're the universe, the multiverse is rocking and rolling, right? You had mentioned in our interview that you were kind of taking a small little break, but not really, kind of.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's a nice gentle landing, so it's not taking a break just yet, but it's gonna pump its brakes more as the new year comes in. Because I've been quite aggressive over COVID without the conventions happening, so online's been more activity, and like Mark, I explored the audiobook world and recording a couple now. One is a re-recording because I like to make life difficult for myself, so I'm rereading the book and re-recording the whole thing. But yeah, it's there's a lot on the go. It's got lots of different projects and trying to juggle them all, so it's been fun. But slowing down, and the last kind of thing to come out immediately will be the kind of a retelling of a previous book. So it's kind of a second edition, but more of a reboot in a way.
Nice. I'm curious. You all come from different corners of we've got a couple corners of Canada. We've got a corner of Panama, and are you guys? I mean, these times have been tough for us all, but I mean, are you reaping any kind of I don't know if imagination or inspiration is the right word even for this, but are you guys kind of getting something from just being where you are at the moment and having to be there? I mean, obviously, Mark, it means more time of being able to be in the room to do the audiobook, right?
It did. I mean, I went to the University of Google and YouTube in order to even learn how to do that and how to master it. I did all of that as well, and it it's a question that I get a lot in these times. Like, oh, how much writing are you doing right now, and or how creative are you being right now? And not very. I haven't done too much, and I think the reason for it, to your question, is that the world is so much stranger these days than anything I have the ability to write, and it's difficult to try and catch up with it. Like I could write like urban fantasy, like I have, and uh, thrillers, and it just doesn't match up to the real world right now. And so I'm just kind of sitting back and soaking that all in while learning a few other skills. I have other like, I think everybody's kind of picked up like COVID skills, like those things that they really want to, like, everybody knows like the whole sourdough trend at one point in time and things like that. Well, like I've picked up a bunch of those kinds of weird things as well. And I've just kind of done that instead of writing, because I just don't feel that I can do fantasy worlds justice when the world that I see around me is this. But I mean, it's not a bad thing. I just really like being present, staying in the moment.
I saw, yeah. I mean, I've seen. Well, let's see. You had an ice rink in your backyard. You had a movie theater in your backyard.
Movie theater too. You were like, that was a good time.
you were building the experience.
I knew that at some point, like, my kids' hockey was going to get shut down. So I think, like, I've had an ice rink on and off before, but I really put the effort into it this year, and it was well worth it, because it was just, oh, Dad, we're bored. Go on the ice rink for 30 minutes until I'm ready with dinner or something like that. I've also learned how to pick locks. I have gotten really good at reading and writing Japanese hiragana. So like all these little tiny weird things that have nothing to do with writing, but I really enjoy doing them. So yeah, I have definitely kind of thrown myself into those, and one of those things was audiobooks, and now I'm hooked, because as anyone who knows me can tell you, I am obsessed with the sound of my own voice. So it's good to get into it.
I gotta ask, why lock picking? Was there a particular scenario you needed lock picking for?
You'll never know.
Note to self, do not show Mark my luggage.
That's a great. I have absolutely no good reason for it. I think I was like just randomly browsing Amazon one day, which is a dangerous thing to do, and I saw like some cheap like $25 lock picking set, and I'm like, lock picking, that seems interesting. And I really love puzzle solving and that kind of thing, and it's because I am an overachiever. Megan has made a note. Yes, that is absolutely right. But that would imply that I'm a good lock picker, which I'm not. So I don't have a solid reason why I started doing that, other than I think Amazon has like implanted something in my brain, and it's like, this guy wants lock picking equipment. And I was like, I do want lock picking equipment, and then here I am. So yeah, I'm not very good at it.
So you're blaming Jeff Bezos, basically.
I am, as I do with a lot of things. He and I have a complicated relationship.
He's a good scapegoat. Just blame him. Most things.
It is. And if he takes too much on his shoulders, he just flies into space, and we're good.
I'm curious what kind of inspiration you must get from Panama down there. That must be amazing.
Yes. For me, actually, the lockdown, we had a really severe lockdown here for a number of months, right from the start of when COVID hit last March. And I looked at it as an opportunity, because we had people here from 20 different countries, and hosting workshops, and it was a lot of fun, had lots of great discussions, but I really needed some uninterrupted time to explore my own writing. And I took over 100 webinars throughout the year, some from Writer's Digest, and I took courses, and And I ended up finding a couple of books that really helped me with my writing process and moved my writing forward. And that was Barbara Kyle's Page Turner and Sarah Domit's Writing a Novel in 90 Days. And I received my inspiration from, fortunately, I'd taken a lot of photographs of natural spaces. I hike a lot here, I walk the beach, and some of those spaces became the inspiration for the setting on the various planets that the teens went to. Although, they weren't quite like here, but they were certainly inspired by. So, for example, book 2 has 4 islands on it, and one's entirely, the landscape's entirely driftwood, and another one's shells, and then the Oracle lives in a house made of sea glass. And so I was inspired by some of the spaces that were here. And it gave me time to explore some of the Greek myths. My story play off them. The Summer Triangle is based on the 3 bright stars in the Summer Triangle, so they're fictional planets. And I play off of the myths around the constellations that those stars and planets are in. So I ended up having a lot of fun, and I was able to settle in with another writer, and we were constantly sending things back and forth. So I knew I would be mad if I had all of this time, and then I got really busy and I hadn't used the time I'd been given. I tried to look at it as a gift of time to accomplish the writing that I wanted to, and not that there weren't struggles and challenging times for sure, but for the most part, it was a real gift to me, and I'm very pleased to have had that opportunity to take the time to do that.
I could be mistaken. I think it's either Panama or Chile, but I believe the scene in Contact when she actually goes to the other planet was filmed on a beach. I think it is Panama where they filmed that.
Possibly. I will have to look that up, Joe, because Contact's one of my favorite books, because I love I play off some of the things that they do in Contact,
nice.
Between science and the science and art and spirituality, so that would be a really cool, fun fact for me to know. So I'm going to have to research that. Thank you.
Yeah, look that up, because I believe that it's either that. It's one of the two. I know it's either Panama, the beach in Panama, or the beach in Chile. But do you have palm trees down there?
Oh yes.
Okay. Then it was probably Panama then, because that's the one thing I remember about that landscape was the palms swinging back and forth in the background. Very interesting, but I love that. I'm super jealous. I love being on the beach. So
yeah, I'm a morning beach walker. Usually, sometimes before the sun rises. I walk early because it gets hot and it gets humid here, and it's definitely one of the best ways to start my day. I go for a walk, and then I come take a dip in the pool, and I put on the coffee pot, and I settle in. So I'm pretty spoiled.
Yeah, for sure. It is a great book. And Andy says hello, Con.
Hey, Andy.
You just how did the book launch go, brother? How did everything go with it? I mean, you were able to do some things in stores in Edmonton, weren't you?
No, actually, it was just before, and there's so much
a
stuff
little too
flying
early
around. Yeah, and there's so much info flying around from federally and provincially about when things were going to open, when vaccines were coming, all that stuff, and it actually ended up working out where Alberta went into its 3rd lockdown just as I was launching my book. I was like, oh, cool. So no one has anything to do other than come to my launch because everyone's stuck at home on a Zoom call. So I was like, cool. And the turnout was actually pretty good. And it's kind of neat. It's neat to see the stuff you put all this hard work in start paying off. And I'd submitted, just spent days not cold calling, just cold emailing reviewers, YouTubers, and all that stuff, and mailing books to these people. And as time goes by, as the months have gone by, you start to see, oh, hey, they did a review of it. Cool. So it's been going good. Yeah, and just enjoying the summer now because we can actually get outside.
Yeah, one's coming from me, by the way. I have the book. I'm just gotta get into it and read it. So I'm real
cool.
excited too. Yeah, I love the concept. I mean, it's an incredibly. I mean, the whole idea of what you're doing is just it's so fascinating to me. It's very interesting, and I mean, I've known you for a while now, and it's a shame I haven't read anything of your stuff because you put out a lot of stuff. And same with Mark. I mean, I've known Mark for a long time now too, and I have Death Dresses Poorly, and I got to pick it up and I got to read it. But that's I'm such a terrible reader, and I'm learning. I'm actually getting better at that. So the pandemic has helped me.
I've read your stuff, Joe. Oh,
I know. Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I will get to it. I promise, and I'll make it up for it. I will make up for it. And Lindy too. I'm gonna pick up these books, even though I know I'm not the demographic. But YA is one of those interesting things, though. I think that it's sometimes it's more adults get into it than Are you finding? Is that something that you're finding? Is that you're getting a lot of adults checking out what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm finding myself in this really interesting position because before my retired life come to Panama, I taught high school, I worked in a library, and so I had lots of connection to youth and being able to talk about books and what they love to read. I taught English, so I'm in a very strange position where I'm now reliant on those gatekeepers, right? Former teaching associates and where I worked in the library where I used to get to do that myself, and now I'm disconnected from that population. So I'm very thankful to have those connections and to have received a good response from the people I'm connected to. So I'm fortunate in that regard, but it's still a great challenge trying to discover what's the right vehicle for me to connect with my actual audience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably my greatest challenge now. And that's what I'm taking courses on now to see if I can figure out that piece.
That's the key. That's the big secret for, I think, all of us, right? Is finding our niche and really taking advantage of it at that point, because it's hard. It's the struggle that we all face, right? I mean, and we want it to be as broad as possible. But sometimes you have to, you do have to figure it out and narrow it down too, because that's going to help you in the long run too, especially when you're doing ads and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I wrote with my former students in mind. So, if students were asked to read a novel for English class, they'd go to the library and they'd start flipping through the book and they'd go, nope, that has over 200 pages. I don't mind reading, but I don't like reading that much. And so my goal was to try and tell really good stories in 200 pages or under. And so,
cool.
So I'm really hoping I can make those connections because I did write with them in mind for sure.
I'm just having flashbacks of having to read War and Peace and Grapes of Wrath. That's what I had to read. That was part of my curriculum.
Good God, who did that to you? Oh my!
My high school brother. Yeah, I had to read that stuff for high school. Yeah, crazy.
I mean, I had to read the usual high school stuff, but nobody was thrusting War and Peace upon me. My God.
Yeah, I read that one. I read. Yeah, Anna Karenina. I'm trying to think of some other big books. Well, see, and I come from a family of readers, right? So, like, my dad and my brother are avid readers. So I always, felt kind of out of the loop because I wasn't a big reader. And that's kind of like when I was 10 years old, my first introduction to books was Dune. That's the first book I picked up and read. And so I was doomed because that book is huge too. So
it is. I remember very clearly when I was younger, I believe it was my grandparents were like a part of some mail order book club, and they got 4 Charles Dickens novels for me. And when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I set out to read A Tale of Two Cities. And I did it, and I understood nothing. And then the other three just kind of sat there for a really long time. Like a kid that young should not be reading Dickens. Like, it's good stories, but I yeah, there's a little bit of a communication and generation gap there, and but I still hung on to them, and I read all of those stories later in life. But that was young me. But like in high school, I see Andy talking about having to read Animal Farm. Yeah, we were at Animal Farm.
Yeah.
High school is where I developed my lifelong hatred of The Great Gatsby. I hate The Great Gatsby, and I'm not going to get started.
Catcher in the Rye for me.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that either, but I get it. But yeah, and then my favorite book in the whole world, The Shipping News, I had to read in high school as well. So yeah, I'm gonna say it was mostly misses, but there was that one hit, and I've ridden that right well into my 40s.
The Shipping News, that's a fairly small book, though, isn't it? It's like that's 300 pages, maybe.
Yeah, relatively. The big thing with The Shipping News is the wording. The E.N.E. Pruill, who wrote it, spent a long time crafting every single sentence. So she's very much painting with words. So it's very, very flowery language. So, and especially if you're not familiar with Canadian, specifically East Coast and Newfoundland slang and accents and those kinds of things, it's a lot like reading Train Spotting. And it's a little bit to get into at times, especially the way that she puts it together.
Yeah. Train Spotting is one of those interesting, because I saw the movie before I read the book, and it's one of those interesting transitions you have to make when you read the book, because the book is very, it's gnarly in terms of like all the Scottish pronunciations and the Gaelics, and it's like, whoa, there's some heavy accents in there that can be hard to read at times.
I have a very Scottish character in my Catching Hell duology, but after reading Train Spotting and reading the sequel Porno, I was like, yeah, it's going to be just like that. And then I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'm just going to lean heavily into stereotypes, because I also know that the Scottish, for the most part, don't really care about that either. So I leaned more into like the stereotypical Scottish accent as opposed to the more accurate and rural one like you find in those. But I did try. I was like, yeah, I really want to capture that whole. I want to capture like that voice of Begbie and those characters, and I totally failed. And I just like went back on a little bit better than Fat Bastard, I want to say.
Alberta's not really. Is Alberta really one of those provinces that has the strong accent in Canada? It's really more like the Newfoundlands and the Newfoundlands in that areas, right?
It I think it is more Newfoundland and the French. But once you get past Toronto, like where we are, once you start heading east, and I've been to all 10 provinces, and like you could start in Vancouver and you can drive cross country and you're not going to notice a difference, and then you're going to hit Quebec and then it's going to hit you in the face, and then you're going to get past Quebec and you're going to be like, okay, something happened there. Like English went through a weird French filter or a weird Scottish filter or just Gaelic in general, and I've been to some places in the depths of Newfoundland that I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying, but I like the cut of your jib.
Yeah, Vancouver's almost like an extension of America in some respects.
Kind of.
Really.
Man, I'm from the Toronto area. I could tell you the same thing about that as well. Like you're surrounded on three sides by the United States.
But
you're in Southern Ontario.
New York has a real strong accent.
New York's got an accent. New York definitely's got an accent.
You know, like Washington and Oregon, the accent is almost. It's like it's almost Canadian in some respects, and almost like it's kind of a wash. You know, I mean, there are things.
I'm heading like. if you were to go north, Joe, if you were to just get in a car and drive north from where you're at, there would be very little change between where you're at until the time you cross the Canadian border.
Oh yeah, I've done it. I've done it. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been as north as my ex-wife's family's from that area, that BC area, and so we used to go to Vancouver Island every year, and so I've driven that road all the way up there to get up there and be up there. So yeah, I've been there. So in fact, the first When Worlds Collide, I flew from Vancouver to Calgary. So yeah, I know it quite well. But yeah, that's why I was saying I did notice much of a difference. But Calgary, it's interesting because you guys have a lot of different cultures in the Calgary area. So it's kind of like you kind of see the accent a little bit more.
Have you been to Toronto? Like
I've not. No, I've not been to Toronto.
It goes up that much more. Calgary is, especially like if you go through Vancouver, if Calgary and Con, I don't know if you can back me up here, Edmonton as well. We're multicultural, but when you go to places like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, you're just like, whoa, we are not multicultural at all.
No, we got our one street for one thing, and then that's it. And we're like go to Toronto,
our Chinatown is like one street.
Yeah, same. It's not very diverse, but yeah, and everyone.
But that's it. That's all we have. Like if I go to Toronto, there's like Greek town and Chinatown and a Ukrainian part of town and the Caribbean part of town, and here not.
Yeah.
What part of Canada are you from, Lindy?
Well, I grew up in Scarborough, so Toronto. I lived all over southern Ontario, kind of following my husband around, who worked on various projects, and also lived on the East Coast. So I lived in Fredericton for 7 years. So yeah, I mean, the East Coast, is significantly different than Ontario. It was, quite a shift in culture, and I really learned to appreciate their, people spending time, right? Getting together, having community. And, it was less so when I lived in Toronto. It was a big change for my kids when we moved from the East Coast up to east of Toronto. We lived in Bowmanville. And, they shared a lot about how they were challenged. And in some ways, I think New Brunswick wasn't maybe as progressive in something. So sometimes we felt a little bit like we needed to, move faster and come along. And then there was less time for those things. So we had to, make that a priority, that there would be these times for getting together in community. So, hold our corn boils and barbecues for families and, bring that with us. And I think we did that. And it's what made it easy to change in some ways to like here in Panama, because the Panamanians could really show you about gathering and getting together with family. It's a whole other experience. And it's a great priority to have. At different parts of the world give you different glimpses in how to set your life up, and you decide, what works for you and your family. So
yeah, it's funny because like for me, going to Calgary, I find it so efficient. I mean, it's, and I know you guys will probably be like, what? It's terrible. but for me, it's like going to the airport and going through customs, it was like a dream. It was like, oh my gosh. Other than the guy that's like the Wizard of Oz guy that's high up in the glass cage that kind of looks down at you and kind of sneers at you a little bit.
I know exactly what guy you're talking about. Yeah.
But other than that, like going through the machines and like the line moves fast, everything's clean in the airport. I mean, you come to LAX and half the seats aren't even there. They're like the tops are like cut in half, and and everything's always under construction in airports here. It's like half of the airports never open. But
I have
it's
never
like
been to. I've never been to LAX or O'Hare or whatever. I can't remember the name in Philadelphia where they haven't been under construction. It has never happened in all the times I've been to each of those.
LAX especially. LAX, I grew up there, so it's been that way for 47 years, brother. It's like they have always been under construction. But yeah, it's so weird, and like, and then I get out there, and it's like everything's direct. Like there's one road that gets to a lot of things, and it's like, holy crap. I mean, in where I live, you have to go down 16 roads to get, because one road doesn't ends, or one road goes around and doesn't come the other way. And it's like, I mean, I'm sure there's that in Calgary. I haven't explored it all that preciously. I've gone basically from my hotel to the other hotel where Windward's Collide is, and been only down that road. And I've been hoping for the last 2 years to go back up there and spend a little bit more time to explore it a little bit more, but it just hasn't happened. But it's always so efficient for me. I'm always so glad to go because it's such a nightmare around
the grid
here.
The grid system for streets and avenues is really handy. That was super helpful when I first moved here. Like when I grew up, I'm from Brampton originally, which is just on the northwest side of Toronto. And it was like, well, you can go to Mill Street and Queen Street and Kennedy and all of these different names. And then in Calgary, it's streets and avenues. There's 39th, there's 32nd, there's 64th. So if somebody says that they're at 32nd Avenue and 13th Street, I know exactly where to go because I know that the avenues go one way and the streets go another, and it's very grid system. You like out here in the burbs where I live, it's not so much like that, and Edmonton's the same way.
Very much.
Like it's especially like when you're hovering around downtown, it's very easy to get around until they start throwing the one-way streets at you and you don't notice it.
See, in the long streets here in America, the downtowns are like that, but you have to go one way or the other. You can't go two ways on one street. A lot of them go one way, one direction, but they all go A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. They follow a grid system too. But then you get on the long strips that lead to the highways or go, from the top of Seattle down to Mexico, basically. There's PCH, the one road that goes all the way up and down. And that one stops at some point and hits a mountain, and you got to go around to get to the other side of it. And it's like, it's never straight. It's always, you just think, oh, well, if I just take the 5 all the way, well, the 5 doesn't go, 5 narrows and goes into a 505, and then it goes into a 405 in LA. And then you have to go over a mountain to get to the 110 and the 405, which connects you back to the 5. And it's just like, is there any way we can make this more complicated?
I just want to say that sounded very much like the old SNL sketch, The Californians.
I was just thinking that actually. It's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. See, Jeff and I grew up in the same place, so he and I grew up together. And PCH turns into Sepulveda, which is another road that goes for a long time, and then it goes back to PCH, and it's just like, what? How do you follow that?
We all have something like that. Where I grew up, there was like Highway 10 turns into Maine, turns into here, Ontario, turns back into Highway 10, and you haven't actually gone anywhere, and you've stayed on the same one the whole time.
Well, many streets here in Panama, there are no street signs. And when I first moved here,
probably the best solution, actually. I think.
It was kind of interesting because I'm trying to apply for my visa, and my water bill gets delivered in my gate, but the address on my water bill is like a street over. And then, there's nothing that I can identify where I actually live. So I call my previous owner and I say, I'm trying to get my visa here. I need to prove where I live. And he just says to me, welcome to Panama, where we don't have addresses. And I'm like, I need to get my visa.
It's funny because
I've mailed and talked to people from. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say I've spoken to a lot of people, and I grew up with a lot of people, and I've mailed a lot of things to India, and I think India has it down because you get their equivalent of state and county and city, but then their actual address is something really obscure, like 3 doors down from the post office on the right hand, and that is their official address,
No
like
way.
when you're sending something. And I've never had anything not make it to its destination. I just recently sent a couple of contest winners a copy of my book, and one was going to Indonesia, and that was a fairly straightforward address. But then the one to India was literally 2.5 blocks down on the left-hand side from the elementary school.
That was the title.
That is their official address. Like I said, they would have their equivalent of whatever the state, province, whatever it was they had, the county, the area that they had, the town or city that they were in, and then that was how they got to it.
Wow.
Or sometimes
I
I've
guess
seen
that
it where
makes
it's like
sense.
the Blue Building or something like that, which is really impressive for a country with like 1.3 billion or whatever they're at right now. That's how they do it. But as I said, I've never had a package lost, so it works.
Yeah.
I haven't had one lost, but I've had them take an awfully long time to get here. So I ordered these glasses in Canada. They shipped them like April 28th, and I just got them 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So they did get here.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to go through a lot of tariffs, I would imagine, and a lot of customs to get down there. Because just from here, you have to go through Mexico, and then you probably have to go through the Caribbean area, and then to Panama, maybe. And it probably goes from here to Mexico to Puerto Rico to Panama, kind of idea, right?
Well, these were supposed to go from Oshawa to Miami, which they arrived actually fairly timely. I think it was around the 15th of May. But anyways, due to the way it was written on the package, so I think it was. I can't entirely blame it on the systems here. The way it was written on the package, it took 2 months to get here. I wasn't sure I was going to get them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't read, and I'm trying to write books.
How close to the canal are you?
We're about an hour and a half away. So the canal, from the Panama City side of the canal. So it goes from Panama City through the country to Cologne. So that's the Pacific side in Panama City. So we're an hour and a half away from there. So we're kind of like what they call cottage country here. We actually are the only people who live on our street full time. So, we've got people who come out here periodically for the weekends or holidays, or, people who come here for the Canadian winters. But it's pretty quiet here most of the time.
I'm sorry, Con, I cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, no. I was just thinking of the mail stuff, and reminded me at this time I had to forge my own address. So I ordered something from Greece, and took forever to get there because it's from Greece. Went over the world, and but I had messed up the address, and it went over to the address beside it, but they needed a signature, and I guess the person who got it just thought it was fishy because it just had all these different stamps and from Greece. So they were just like, they sent it back to the post office, and I was tracking it, and I saw that it was rejected and sent back to the post office. So I went over there, and it's like, do you guys have my package? And I gave them the tracking number, and they said, oh, someone already answered the door and said this isn't theirs, and they don't want it. And it's like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, they never ordered it, and they want it to send back, and it needed a signature. I was like, no, but that's got my name on it. So I showed them, and they weren't buying it, and they're like, no, your address is wrong. I was like, fine. So went back home, opened up Photoshop, and took a credit card statement, and I just scanned it in and then changed the address and then printed it out. And then went to the post office, like, see, my address is that address. And they're like, they kept looking, and they're like, okay. And then they gave me the package. So that was the one time I had to forge my own address just to get my package.
So we have we have Mark the lockpicker, we have Con the forger. But we are creating our own little Ocean's 11 over here.
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
That's pretty awesome.
Again, I'm not very good.
That's not what you said earlier. Now you're backtracking a little bit.
I'm getting there. There's one lock that I have that I simply cannot get into. I got into it once in like 5 seconds, and I haven't been able to get back into it since. All my other ones I can open up pretty quickly, but there's this one lock, and it's from like the 1980s, and I just can't do it.
Can you do the dial ones, or is it just the ones that have the prongs in them?
It depends on the dial one. If it is like one of those like classic master lock ones that we would all put on our lockers or something, yeah, those ones are super easy. Same with any of the ones that go on a bike lock or something. But if we're talking about like the quintessential film noir thief trying to get into some old timey iron safe, no. Those ones I do not have the touch for, but some of them, yeah, some of them I do. Some of them.
Is this all going to go into a book eventually? Are you going to use this as part of some book stuff?
Nope, nothing. Nope, this isn't research. This is just Mark having fun. This is just, ooh, look at this little.
This is Mark getting to the end of YouTube and going, what else can I explore, right?
Oh my god, yeah, what else can I do? I mean, like I've filmed videos of me like out in the middle of nowhere, and then there's like me in the closet, and so up next is going to be me picking locks while I'm also like giving really good cooking advice from stuff that I've learned over the last year and a half or so. Yeah, at some point it's just going to be just a total mishmash of everything that's popular on YouTube, just to try and hit that right algorithm.
I wrote a note to myself that I'm going to put in my phone for next year, and I'm going to make the alarm go off this time next year. I'm going to make sure that I bring a lock with me, and when we're live, I'm going to have you pick it right there.
You know what? Because I always do all of this carrying my messenger bag with me, I carry it makes it look like a credit card, but only it's a little bit thicker, and then it opens up, and it's a portable lock picking kit that I keep in that bag at all times. So you will not take me by surprise. I have it.
You're prepared.
And I will be ready to go.
No, it's not his day job.
Sounds like it. I don't know.
I wish. Oh man, that'd be fantastic. Well, even then, I keep admitting I'm not that good at it. But no,
That's your disguise.
No, not the day
You
job.
fooled them.
Does I'm sure Canada has like locksmiths and stuff like that, right? You guys have locksmiths.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely. Again, there's absolutely no solid reason I can give you that I picked up that particular skill. When I picked up and reading and writing hiragana, I had a reason behind that. I have a lot of Japanese influences in my writing. I am very much a Japanophile and would love to get over there at some point. There's a reason behind that. That's working my way towards the future. My lockpicking is just, I don't know, this seemed like a good idea at the time. Why not? It comes from nowhere. It will achieve nothing, and it is a useless life skill that I embrace wholeheartedly.
Well, what's useful? You can do a lot with lockpicking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're gonna find one
Right?
of these
Like,
days
I have this thing. Always know how to break into your own house and your car. You just know how to do it. Nobody else has to know how to do it, but you should always know how to break into those two things, just in case.
True.
Interesting. What part of Japan do you hope to go to? Have you looked at that at all?
I have. I first of all love to do the standard corridor of going like the Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. But I would love to go north. A lot of the stories that I've written take place in Hokkaido, around Sapporo, and going up that way. I love the idea of the city of Sendai, which is a city about the same size as Calgary. So just to try and get an idea of, hey, equal sized city like in Japan when it comes to culture and just general life, and then on the other side of me, I also like going tropical places like Hawaii, and I would love to go to Okinawa. A lot of characters that I have are down in the archipelago south of Japan. So I have like I want to do the touristy things first, but when the time comes, I'm willing to go just about anywhere. I'll go north in the snow because I'm used to it, even though I know they get a ton of snow. I would also love to just go south and hang out on the beaches. I am not a picky man when it comes to whatever my future adventures in Japan will equal.
Well, it's been about 25 years for me, but if you do go to Okinawa, let me know. I'll tell you where all the good waterfalls are and stuff, because there's some awesome waterfalls down there.
Done.
Cool
Absolutely done. Because I know that's the one part of Japan that my wife would like to go to, because she's very much a tropical person in beaches and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, you want to go to Hawaii, but Japanese, yeah. Then I got just the place.
Yeah, Osaka's awesome too. Osaka is mostly mountains though, but that place I spent some time there too, which is nice. But obviously, I was in Okinawa for a year, so I know it pretty well. But even now, I think, although things grow and change quite a bit, but there's also a lot of great World War II history there too. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, I do have to jump to another panel.
Okay.
At 7, so I do have to leave early, unfortunately.
Okay.
But this has been a lot of fun.
It's always great to
catch
up with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and great to meet you, Lindy, and hi everyone. I saw Heidi in there in the chats, and good to see you again, Mark and Joe. Until next time.
Hasta luego.
Bye, sir. Take
Ciao.
care. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thanks.
Next year, beers, Con. Next year.
So Lindy, are you in Panama permanently, or you're just there for a certain period of time?
No, the plan is to stay. So my husband years ago said that he wanted to retire somewhere hot, and Panama certainly qualifies for that. And we actually had 2 adult children living here before we moved here. We only have 1 now, but I've got a son down in the Azuero Peninsula. He lives in a cabin right on the beach there, and he's running photography workshops and adventures from there. And we pretty much settled in. And with so many people coming here to stay from other parts of the world, and our hope at some point to travel as well, we feel that our world has been really enriched and expanded. So come on down, come and walk that beach and swim the pool, and we'll talk more writing in person.
Yes, I would love that. That would be awesome. I would definitely want to do that for sure, because I love beach weather. I love Caribbean climates and things like that. So I would be real excited about that. So
Yeah, and we're really fortunate because I can be on the beach in the morning, and half an hour later I can be hiking in the mountains because we live in between them. And then there are jungle areas that are really worth seeing. Waterfalls, like you were mentioning, Mark, there's some gorgeous waterfalls, really refreshing places to write by them and to hike to. And
that's awesome.
And I'm constantly astounded by the beauty here. So I'm really looking forward to exploring some of the more obscure places here.
So when Words Collide comes back into being a in-person thing, do you plan on coming up and indulging in that at least for the weekend, or is this just a happy accident for you kind of idea?
Oh no, I definitely would. My first When Words Collide was 2 years ago. And I had a little bit of an adventure. I missed my flight getting there, and my flight coming home was canceled. But I have a very good friend who lives in Calgary, Barbara Baker, another young adult writer who just released a book called Summer of Lies this year. And so I've got a place that I can camp out, and we've had friends come from Ontario. We camp out at her place, and then we take in the weekend. And it was a really great experience for me. Some of the feedback that I got from some of the editing sessions and just encouragement from the writers there really gave me the confidence to step out and publish this year. So I have a lot to be grateful for my experience there. So I definitely would be back, and I'm encouraging others to go there as well.
Yeah, it's an awesome event. It's a great weekend, and I always have a lot of fun doing this and doing that, and yeah, I miss it. So yeah, but so tell everybody real quickly where we can check you out, where they can get your books. We'll start with you, Lindy. Tell everybody where they can find you and how they can get a hold of you.
Well, the easiest is probably our website, which is www, obviously, tranquiloretreat.com, and you'll find information there about the workshops and my books. There are direct links from there to Amazon to order those. And you can certainly email from there as well. Say you're coming to have some fun and write in the sun.
Are you doing any other panels this weekend?
I just had a workshop today. I was a little late trying to jump on some of the panels, so I was sharing the writing method I use in my workshops. It's called the Amherst Writers and Artists method of writing.
Oh,
and
cool.
So we did a hands-on writing workshop today in one of the sessions. I had a lot of fun, met some new people. It's good.
Nice, awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. It was nice to have you. And yeah, we'll talk in person next year for sure, and see if I can get down there for sure.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
How about for you, Mark? Where can people find you, sir? Mr. Watson, where can people find you?
Oh, I am all over the socials. You can find me at www.markwatson.ca. That's markwatson.ca, not .com. That's another Mark Watson. He's a really nice guy, and he's also an author, but he's not me. So .ca. And you can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and oddly enough, I just set up a TikTok account. That's all at Write Watson. And facebook.com/Mark Wrote a Book. And then you can also find my infrequently contributed to YouTube channel. And I'm getting better at it, but still not my forte yet. You can mostly find me on Twitter or at my website. And then you can find all of my available books right now on Amazon.
Nice. And are you doing any other panels this weekend? Do you I know you have a busy weekend schedule usually, so
I do have a busy weekend schedule. I'm not doing any other panels. I'm looking forward to attending a bunch of them, but there's a few other things going on in my life personally that is going to take a little bit of priority this weekend. Sadly, the baseball season is over, but that just means that there's more stuff around the house that I have to do. But I am looking forward to attending some panels while I do things like cleaning and fixing and painting and that kind of thing. So I made sure I didn't stretch myself too thin. You're my one and only, Joe. You are my must. You are my. I will overturn heaven and earth to make sure that I'm here for you, buddy.
I appreciate that. I love that. Yeah, for people who don't know, Mark Watson is super dad, so he does a lot of great stuff, and he's an amazing author. Everybody, go check him out for sure. He may say that he doesn't. He's a different. He approaches things differently, but he still writes a lot more than I do. So I don't know if that's a sad statement or a good statement, but regardless,
I think that goes both ways though, Joe, because you kind of do other things too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's okay.
All right, everybody. Well, as you know, it's always time to go indie now. We are very, very fortunate, and thank you to Randy McCharles and everybody at When Words Collide who allow us this opportunity to be here every year and be a part of this incredible festival. 10 years. We have a little video that we're putting together to celebrate 10 years, so keep an eye out for that, and we're going to add on to it probably next year in person a lot as well. And hopefully we do this. We said this last year, but hopefully this year it sticks, and that we say we will be in person there next year and enjoying it. And with that, the bar is closed. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for all the great comments and all the interaction. We really do appreciate it. And we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.